Bamban's kindergarten facilities are full of mysteries. In the second chapter, we find a lot of new and strange creatures, so join me to create them with clay. I will be making them in their animated and realistic version. Also, I will be telling you more about each one, so get comfortable and enjoy this video. Bamban is a tall red humanoid figure with two horns covered by birthday hats. Of all the monsters in the place, it has the most innocent appearance. Bamban is one of the main characters in the second chapter. He only appears twice, but he is still an important character in the game, acting as the reason the player is sent to the lab area, and at the end of the game, where he reveals that he is also looking for the missing children. Because of this, it can be presumed that he will be a leading force rather than being antagonist in the next chapters, but that remains to be seen. The second chapter of Garten of Bamban starts exactly where the first chapter finished, with Jumbo Josh knocked out on the floor, in a completely dark room, a pretty scary start. Then, we use the card we have and enter a dark corridor. The objective of the game is to look for our supposed son. This time, we are in the middle of some giant buildings, and in one of the bridges, we can find a letter to follow more clues. When we leave the bridge, we go to the nursery. In that same place, we hear a voice through the speakers that tells us that it can see us and wants to help us. It also tells us to say hello to the cameras. It also offers its help, but as it can get out of the room it is in, it asks us to get it out of there. So, first of all, we have to look for a blue card. While we do it, we realize that in reality, this is not a nursery, but a kind of laboratory, in which they are trying to create different beings, half human and half monsters. We realize this by reading a letter that mentions the following. Communication with Case 6 has provided invaluable information that may explain why previous cases have sorely failed, as well as improve the creation of future cases. Despite being seemingly incredibly intelligent, it does not appear to recognize itself as non-human. When addressed as non-human, Case 6 reacts with confusion. Reflections also have no effect, as Case 6 appears to see itself as the human genome donor. A meeting between Case 6 and the human genome donor has not yet conducted. Case 6 describes a constant immense pain that is present in the entirety of its body. Despite the human genome donor of Case 6 being a doctor, the case has failed to give a description more detailed than the pain having to do with the blood flow. Case 6 has no blood in their systems, only gibanium. Case is not ready for presentation. Something interesting that we notice in this letter is that the alias of Case 6 is the devil, so we can intuit that it refers to Bamban. Then we have to follow a pattern and touching other certain buttons, this to get a card and be able to go to the downstairs floor to get a blue card, which is very important. When we go back upstairs, we use the blue card to enter a room and read a small note, but someone hits us very hard and knocks us unconscious. When we wake up and turn around, we realize that it is Bamban, and it tells us that it just stole our DNA, so it seems that Bamban has betrayed us and leaves us abandoned in a laboratory where we must look for clues to get out of there. In that same place, we find a very important clue. There is another letter from Case 6 that says the following. The procedure in Case 6 has been a success. Case 6 is stable and performs tasks that are necessary for organic beings, such as eating and drinking, as predicted, despite the lack of any biological necessity to do so. As previously observed on other cases with humans as the primary genome, Case 6 recalls many memories and events belonging to the original genome donor as their own, excluding names of people, as well as keeping an identical level of intelligence. Case 6 is also capable of speech as fluently as the original genome donor. Unlike the previous cases with humans as the primary genome, Case 6 is interestingly docile and cooperative, albeit very confused about the circumstances. Most previous cases displayed extremely hostile and nervous behavior towards staff and children alike, a behavior that has been attributed to the new genetical modifications that were applied. Case is not ready for presentation. Then, we have to break a glass of the laboratory To be able to continue, with the help of the drone, once this is done, the lights turn on and we find the orange card. The next thing to do is to get into the elevator to go to the second floor of the laboratory. On this floor, we find several Captain Fiddles, but these seem to be lifeless and are of different colors. We enter a room and we have a new task to do. We have to use a syringe to extract Gibanium from the Captain Fiddles, including the giant blue Captain Fiddles. This seems to be the only one alive. As we go into more rooms, we find another somewhat different letter, which mentions the following. This is neither a report nor anything informative in the traditional sense, but a cry for help. Whoever's reading this, I implore you to discuss stopping this madness once and for all. Matters are bound to be sugar-coated when written through some colorful paper, but you do not seem to understand how bad things truly are. Each of the cases that have been developed so far suffer unbearable pain without end. We don't know why, and maybe we're not meant to. I can't imagine any of them anywhere near a child, and maybe they should never be. It would be unrealistic to shoot it all down at once, so all I ask is that you come down here and see things for yourself. Don't live by the stereotype of the evil faceless corporate entity, I ask you please. When we extract the Gibanium from all the Captain Fiddles, we have to deposit it in a jar. Once we do this, it opens a door and gives us a firecracker that we can use to chase away the giant Captain Fiddles. When we chase him away, he leaves us free to rooms. In one of them, we find a cap, and in the other one, we find a pink card. When we open the door with this card, we realize that it sends us to the place of the beginning, so we have to go to the middle door. When we enter, we have to activate several red buttons with the help of the drone. It will open another door that will take us to a long corridor. When we get to the door at the end, we have to open it with the help of the drone. When we enter, we realize that it is completely dark, but inside there is a Opila bird. Then, we hear a voice of a woman who tells us to go with her. That voice is Bambalina, who seems to want to help us. Bambalina is Bamban's female counterpart, which means she looks quite similar to him. She is a tall humanoid with horns, but she is white instead of red, and wears a bow on one of her horns instead of birthday hats. Bambalina only appears in the first chapter of Garten of Bamban as an illustration. She is first seen in the reception area of the Bamban kindergarten in the illustration along with everyone else. Later, when the player enters the creativity area, Bambalina can be seen by herself on the wall as an illustration to the left of the entrance of the main office. There, the illustration has a message on the wall that reads her most famous quote, "Kindness is free, so sprinkle it everywhere." Bambalina plays a much more important role in the second game, although she is still presented as a friendly monster that saves us from Opila Bird. She is a neutral monster in the game, in that if you disobey her, she will kill you, but if you obey her, she will let you live. Once she helps us escape from Opila, Bambalina guides us to a classroom where she is the teacher and welcomes us, but tells us we are a little late. Here, things start to get a little messy. The other students are just basketballs with glasses, some bowling pins, and some plant watering cans. If we disobey her and don't sit down, we will have a very bad time. As we sit down, she mentions that the first subject of the day is math, so she asks us to solve the sum of two large numbers, but to answer that question, we have to press the tape we think is the correct one. Then, she asks us two more questions, and that ends the math class, so she asks us to move to the next room. In that room, we have to collect several pieces of gum to be able to sell them to the basketballs, and when we give them all the gum, they give us $1. That dollar, we have to place it next to the bowling pins to save the watering can and take it with the others. Doing this opens a door and we can pick up some glasses. Again, we have to go back to the classroom with Bambalina, and the glasses we picked up help us become a popular kid, so we have to sit with the populars now. And the next subject is about science. She asks us 3 questions, and when we answer them correctly, we have to move again to the next room. Now, we have to pick up all the money from the floor and place it next to the bowling pin. This opens a second door. Inside, there is another bowling pin that we have to take, and then we have to go back to the class. Now, we have to sit next to the other bowling pins, and the next subject is health and kindness. During the questions, a noise sounds outside the classroom, and Bambalina goes to check. So now, it's time to use our drone, so we can escape from that crazy teacher. Once Bambalina returns and doesn't see us, she gets too upset and can be heard talking about how she tried to be a good teacher this time, suggesting that she has had previous classes that ended with no success. She can chase us because the door through which we escaped is closed. Bambalina's last appearance is in the assembly hall. At the time of the assembly, Bambalina enters the room through her own catwalk and chases us along with Jumbo Josh for being a bad student. And just as Bambalina is behind us, she is crushed by Jumbo Josh. Then he takes her away and drops a white card. We enter the room and there is the elevator. We get into it to go downstairs, and here ends this great and murky chapter 2 of Garten of Bamban. Nab Nab appears as a blue spider-like humanoid with 3 eyes and a large mouth with several sharp teeth. He wears a bearded hat with white, black, and grey stripes. In addition, he has a rather large tongue, waiting to eat its victim. Nab Nab is one of the creatures created in Bamban's kindergarten, likely using gibanium and genetic material from some species of spider. In Udman's room, in the comm sector, Nab Nab is suggested as one of the creatures that should be dropped from the program, as he is unsuitable for children due to scarring Waverly, which means he will likely also scare children. Nab Nab resides in the communication sector. As we go downstairs to the maintenance room, we find a picture of it, with a text that mentions the following: "It's okay to have no friends and be miserable like me." Once we get downstairs and enter the maintenance room, on the left we find a very important notice that mentions 3 points that say the following: work in groups no smaller than 2, carry flashlights at all times, flashlights are in the equipment room, if in direct confrontation with the spider, cause as much noise as possible until help arrives. In the hours leading up to the events of the series, the employees of the comm sector came under attack from Nab Nab, sounded the emergency alarm, used tables from the break room as barricades at the sector entrance, and wrote graffiti and a note to inform future visitors that the spider was real, was coming, and couldn't be held back by the tables. The barricades proved to be unsuccessful, as Nab Nab is later seen on both sides of them in Garten of Bamban 2. It is unknown if the employees succumbed to the attack, but there is no evidence of their survival, so it can be presumed that they were eaten by Nab Nab. When we advance until we reach some stairs, we have to go up and break a glass with the help of the drone. This to be able to activate 3 red buttons. With this, a door will open. When we enter, we find an image of Nab Nab and a text that says boo. We also find a blue key that is very important to advance in the game. When we leave the room, Nab Nab starts crawling on the ceiling, trying to capture us. The goal of this chase sequence is to escape the maintenance room maze from Nab Nab without standing still, otherwise he'll kill us. We must follow the blue arrows, which lead to the exit, and go against the advice of the pink arrows. The blue and pink arrows light up with the spotlights when we approach them, which is an attempt to trick us into hitting a dead end. After we escape the maintenance room, Nab Nab can be seen traveling back along the ceiling to the storage closet area. After the chase, Nab Nab doesn't appear for the rest of the game. However, after Bambalina is picked up by Jumbo Josh following the assembly room chase, we can walk back the way they came, where the hallway will be barricaded by a hospital bed behind, which Nab Nab can be seen watching us. Some interesting facts about this character are that Nab Nab's model, without its eyes and tongue, can be found out of bounds. This could have been its original design. Nab Nab appears to be the opposite of Bamban in every way. Bamban has lots of friends, Nab Nab has none. Bamban is red, Nab Nab is blue. Furthermore, Bamban's birthday hats are colorful, meanwhile Nab Nab's birthday hat is monochromatic. Even his name, Nab Nab, is just Bamban spelled backwards. In fact, the only similar thing that they both have are their tongues sticking out from their mouth in monster form. Slow Celine is a yellow snail, and its shell is a greenish ochre color, and it has some spots of the same color. Its eyes are abnormally large, and it has a big strange smile that causes intense fear to the player. Slow Celine was one of the new characters introduced in Garten of Bamban 2. She is first met after finishing a puzzle involving the Opila Sheiks. When the player leaves the area in which the puzzlement takes place, they again end up in the same hallway where they encounter Bambalina. She is seen at the end of the hallway, slowly getting closer. The player must pay attention to her eyes. If the eyes are straight up, the player must stay still. If the eyes are stretched out towards the walls and not facing the protagonist, we can advance, as explained by one of the posters on the wall. As her eyes stretch outwards to the left and right, they extend, and she greets the player with a slow hello, which is later followed with a "Where are you hiding?" as her eyes tilt for the second time. To escape this area, the protagonist must find the correct door to enter while she isn't moving. However, if you move while she is moving towards you, she will look at you for a few seconds and charge at you, killing you instantly. Some interesting facts about Slow Celine are that there are two secret voice lines. If the player waits for her eyes to tilt for a third time, she will say "Please, it hurts," and for the fourth and final time, she will say "I was promised something painless." Celine can be seen staring at the player from above at the end of Garten of Bamban 2 as the player rides an elevator just after the final chase. This may imply that she will reappear in Garten of Bamban 3. Celine is technically the strongest entity in the game because the hallway she appears in is considered a cutscene, rendering the invisibility hacks useless. If you could teleport across the map from the hallway, she will still sense movement and clip through the entire map to jumpscare you, meaning there is no escaping Slow Celine without actually playing the game legitimately. The noise that catches Bambalina's attention at the end of her third lesson, which lets the player escape the classroom, is actually Celine saying hello. Captain Fiddles is one of the main characters in Garten of Bamban, but he doesn't really play an important role in any of the two chapters of this video game. Only the other members of his Fiddles team are the important ones. Captain Fiddles is a short humanoid figure on the presentation wall of the characters in the garden of the first and second video game. We can notice that he is lavender color, and his face is located on his chest. This character has two medium-sized eyes, a large mouth, and two very sharp lower teeth. The fact that he has the title of captain in his name suggests that this version is the leader of the other variants of this character, but something interesting is that the captain as such has not appeared. They appear in several colors except lavender, which is the main one. After Bamban hits us and leaves us unconscious, we wake up on the first floor of the laboratory, and once we use the drone to break a large glass, we can activate a red button that will turn on the lights of that floor. Once this is done, we find an orange card that will help us to use the elevator and go to the second floor of the laboratory. On this floor, we find some pretty strange things. Just when we get there, if we turn to the left, we find a giant fiddle cyan color, and if we turn to the right, we find a fiddle's dark green, and next to it, we find a letter that mentions the following. I don't know what happened. 1 second, they were as docile and peaceful as a kindergarten toddler, and the next, they were ripping the place apart. I think the loud crash might have startled them. I didn't know they were so prone to their instincts. Myself and the rest of the survivors are currently cornered in the main hallway. We are running low on ammunition and energy to defend ourselves. At least, this cannon prop they brought here the other day is finally being put to use. It's only a matter of time before we're left defenseless, and when we do, I had to think about what those things will do to us. We're heading for the lower levels when we see an opening. Nobody's been down there in a while, and it should be a safer place to wait this out if we make it. I must leave it at that because I'm getting yelled at for writing this and not helping. Save yourself and get out of here if you can. As we move further into the room, we came across more orange, bright orange, brown, pink, and mustard fiddles, but the lavender color is not found in this room, so maybe in the third chapter we will see it. The task to do in this room is to extract with the help of a syringe the gibanium from all the fiddles, including the giant fiddle, which we must distract with the drone. Each fiddle drawn on the wall has a different color and appearance. The dark green fiddle is missing its teeth and its eyes turn upwards to the right. The brown fiddle has a surprised expression and no teeth. The pink one has a vampire-like appearance and it has very large fangs. The mustard colored one is missing an eye and is looking straight ahead. The bright orange fiddle has his eyes closed, which gives him a peaceful or happy look. The cyan fiddle has a sad expression and no teeth. Its monstrous shape also stands out because of its giant size, and the orange one has only one tooth and is cross-eyed. Some interesting facts about this character are that there is an unused monster form of the Captain Fiddle's model out of bounds, although it was used in the Garten of Bamban trailer miniature for cell phones. His genome donor was a child, which is confirming one of the case update reports. Sulfus is one of the new characters introduced in the second chapter of Garten of Bamban. He seems to be a gigantic pale head and has a rather long neck. His face is flat and his head is round. His face has hollow eyes, nose and mouth, plus they are black and squiggly, giving him the appearance of a badly drawn creepy drawing. The lower half of its body is elongated and rod-like and is covered by the shadows of the abyss. After we leave the laboratory room in which we were trapped, Sulfus will be seen emerge from the abyss. Other than that, he has no representation or any other appearance in the game. In the notes, Sulfus is said to live in the abyss, or called the basement. He also feeds on gibanium, as it seemed that the workers needed to sacrifice 3 of the monsters. This character will perhaps have more prominence in the following chapters of Garten of Bamban. The baby Opila birds are mostly similar to Opila, as they are a miniature version of her, but among the 6 babies, there is one that stands out. The chick in question is cyan in color with the right details on the claws, wings, beak, and feather crest on the head. These chicks are used to complete a small mission in which you have to take the chicks to their beds to pass safely through the exit door, behind which is Opila Bird. When the chicks are in place, you can open the exit door and Opila Bird will ignore you and go directly to the chick's bed, so you can pass safely through the exit of the room. If you open the door too early, Opila Bird will attack you first. The baby Opila Birds are very similar to the mini Jumbo Yosh, in that they are a miniature version of a pre-existing character. There are 6 babies, and the number of eggs we fed Opila Bird in the first chapter were also 6, so they could be the hatchlings of those eggs, except for the secret 7th egg. Once we meet Sulfus and go to the middle room, when we enter, we will find a letter that mentions the following. After the recent genetic modifications that were applied to Case 10, significant behavioral changes have been observed. Aggression towards certain demographics has been completely replaced with protective and motherly behavior. Said demographics include individuals of small stature, high-pitched voices, and those with childlike attributes. Individuals that do not fall into said demographics are still met with extreme aggression that can turn lethal due to the case's large size and possession of a very sharp beak. Oddly, said demographics are almost exclusively human, with the exception of Case 10A, Case 10B, Case 10C, Case 10D, Case 10E, and Case 10F. All organic organisms, birds included, both adult and young, are made with the same level of aggression as humans who do not possess children-related attributes. This has been all for the moment. I hope you like all the figures of chapter 2 of Garten of Bamban. Comment which one or ones have been your favorite and which character from chapter 3 you want me to create. Also, I invite you to subscribe and leave your like. With this, you support me a lot. Greetings, take care, and see you in the next video.